The sky above the forest was dark and heavy. Clouds moved slowly, hiding the sun. Wind rushed through the tall red trees. Leaves twisted and flew round like they were dancing. In the middle of it all, a young man named Tomel walked alone. Tomel lived on the edge of the human colony. The village was called White Bend. It was quiet, cold, and close to the wild forests. The people of White Bend were always afraid of one thing: the beast from the woods. They called it the Brunel. It had 4 glowing eyes, thick black fur, and claws that could tear metal. It walked like a shadow and moved without sound. Some said it was a monster made by the Zorak, the alien race that ruled this part of space. Others said it escaped from a lab and now lived wild. Whatever it was, it had attacked before. It left deep claw marks on metal fences and burned signs. Where soldiers once stood, many had tried to hunt it. No one had returned. A bounty was placed on its head. Hunters came with guns, drones, and traps. All failed. Still, the people wanted it gone. Tomel was not a hunter. He was a gatherer. He walked the forest every week, setting traps for small animals and picking rare fruits to sell. He never wanted trouble. He kept his eyes down, made no noise, and always returned before nightfall. But today, something changed. As he reached one of his traps near a broken tree, he froze. A sound like a low breath came from behind him, slow, deep, heavy. Tomel turned around. There, standing between the trees, was the Brunel. It was bigger than he had imagined. Its head was wide like a helmet. Its 4 eyes glowed yellow and stared straight at him. Muscles moved under its thick fur as it stepped forward. Tomel could not breathe. He did not move. His legs shook. He thought he would die. But the Brunel didn't attack. It stopped a few steps away. Its head tilted slightly. Then it dropped something on the ground, a round, glowing fruit. Its skin was smooth and blue. Tomel had never seen one like it before. The Brunel stared at him for a few seconds longer, then turned around and walked away into the forest. Tomel stood still for a long time. His heart pounded like a hammer. When he was sure the beast was gone, he walked slowly to the fruit and picked it up. It was warm in his hand. Light shimmered across its surface. He didn't eat it. He just put it in his pack and walked home. That night, Tomel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what happened. The Brunel was not wild. It was not crazy. It had brought him something. But why? And why him? The next morning, he showed the fruit to a trader in the village. The man's eyes went wide. This fruit grows only deep in the Zorak forest, he said. Humans can't go there. Too dangerous. Where did you find it? Tomel lied. It was near the creek, he said. The man bought the fruit for a high price. Tomel left the market and walked home. He looked at the woods again. He did not understand what was happening. A few days later, it happened again. Tomel found a smooth stone placed near his trap. It sparkled in the light. It was not natural. It looked like something from a machine. It had a mark on it, a Zorak symbol. Again, no sound, no sign. But he knew. The Brunel had left it for him. Tomel did not tell anyone. He started to leave small things in the same spot: a piece of bread, a soft cloth, even a small wooden toy he carved as a child. He did not know if the beast took them, but the gifts kept coming: rare herbs, metal parts, shiny stones, and once a carved figure of a bird made from crystal. The fear began to fade. Not fully, but enough. One cold night, as rain fell hard and wind roared through the trees, Tomel went to check his traps early. A large branch broke and fell. He didn't have time to run. It crashed down on his leg. Pain filled his body. He screamed. The storm covered his voice. No one would hear him. He tried to move but couldn't. His vision blurred. Rain poured into his face. He felt cold, weak, and lost. The last thing he saw before passing out was a shadow moving toward him, 4 yellow eyes glowing in the dark. When Tomel opened his eyes, he was home. He was lying on his bed. His leg was wrapped. A fire was lit. Clean water was by his side. And on the floor, near the door, were wet footprints, large ones, beast footprints. Tomel sat up slowly. He did not feel fear. He felt safe. Outside, The forest was quiet. The wind had stopped. The leaves were still. Somewhere in the trees, the Brunel watched, waiting. And for the first time, Tommel didn't feel alone. Days passed after the storm. Tommel's legs still hurt, but he could walk with care. He tied a wooden stick to it and limped slowly. He didn't tell the village what happened. He didn't tell them who saved him. He knew they wouldn't believe it. They would only ask questions. They might even send hunters. So Tommel stayed quiet. But every morning, before sunrise, he stepped outside his small cabin and looked toward the forest. And every time, he found something new. A clean water flask made from silver leaves. A glowing mushroom, safe to eat and sweet in taste. Once, a fine knife with a handle carved from bone. Each gift was left near the same old rock, not far from the tree line. No tracks, no sound, only the gift. Tommel started calling the beast by a name. In his mind, it was not just the Brunel anymore. It was Groll. He didn't know why he chose that name. It just felt right. Groll was not a monster to him now. It was something else, a guardian, a friend, maybe more. One morning, Tommel stepped outside with a new idea. He held a wooden box. Inside it, he placed a small fish, roasted and wrapped in dry leaves. He walked to the rock and set the box down. Then he waited. He sat behind a tree, far enough to not be seen. Hours passed. The sun rose high. Birds sang. Wind danced through the branches. Then the forest went silent. Tommel held his breath. Groll walked out from the trees. Its steps were slow and careful. It looked around once. Then it moved to the box and opened it with one claw. It sniffed the fish, then ate it in one clean bite. After that, Groll sat down. Not facing Tommel, just resting there. The great beast sat under the sunlight, its fur shining softly. Its four eyes blinked in peace. It looked almost calm, almost like a giant dog. Tommel's heart beat fast. He didn't move. He didn't speak. Groll looked toward the trees. Then, without warning, it stood up and walked away again. Tommel stepped out from his hiding place and came to the box. Groll had left something inside. A feather, pure white. It gave off a soft glow, like moonlight. Tommel held it in his hand and smiled. The friendship was real. After that day, Tommel and Groll began a silent trade. One would leave a gift, the other would return one. Sometimes food, sometimes tools, sometimes things neither of them could understand. One evening, Tommel brought out a small wooden flute. It was old, but it still worked. He played it for a few minutes by the rock, then placed it down with a fruit. The next day, the flute was gone, and in its place was a necklace made of tiny, colored stones. As the days passed, Tommel began to notice something else. Groll always stayed out of sight when the village people were near. Even when hunters passed through the forest, Groll did not come. It only came when Tommel was alone. The beast was careful. It didn't want to cause fear. But still, fear was growing in the village. Whispers spread that the Brunel had returned. Someone saw deep claw marks near the river. Someone else claimed they saw yellow eyes in the dark. The village chief warned people to stay out of the forest. Tommel said nothing. That night, Tommel sat by the fire, holding the white feather in one hand. He looked at the necklace and thought about Groll's eyes. They were not evil. They were full of thought, full of choice. He remembered the way Groll had pulled him out of the storm, had brought food, had never hurt him. This was not a monster. This was something trying to learn, trying to connect. A knock came at the door. Tommel jumped. He opened it slowly. Outside stood a woman in silver clothes. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were sharp and bright. She looked human at first, but Tommel could tell she was Zarak. "I'm looking for something," she said softly. "Something rare." Tommel stared at her, confused. "I do not understand," he said. The woman smiled. "It gives you gifts," she said. "Now I want to see why." She walked away before he could ask anything else. Tommel closed the door, his heart racing. Who was she? How did she know? The next day, Tommel left no gift at the rock. Instead, he waited behind the tree again, holding the feather. Groll came, slower than before. It looked around with more care. It seemed to sense something was wrong. Tomel stepped out. Grohl turned. Ready to run. Demel raised the feather. Grohl stopped. They stood facing each other for the first time. No wall between them. No gift, only silence. Tomel took a slow step forward. Grohl didn't move. He took another step. Grohl lowered its head. Tomel reached out, hand shaking, and touched its fur. It was warm, soft, alive. Grohl made a sound, low and deep, like a hum. Tomel smiled. Somewhere in the trees, unseen by both, the Zarek woman watched with quiet eyes. She whispered to herself, "He left me for a human. Now I must know why." The sun rose slowly over the quiet forest. Birds flew between the tall red trees. Dew covered the leaves. Wind moved gently through the branches. Everything felt calm. But Tomel's heart was not calm. He sat near his cabin, staring at the silver feather Grohl had left in the past few weeks. He had seen more kindness from the beast than from many people. Grohl brought him food, tools, and even protected him during the storm. It had never spoken, but its actions said enough still. The woman from before stayed in his thoughts, a Zarek woman, tall and strange, with silver clothes and eyes like cold glass. She had come without warning. She knew about the gifts. She knew about Grohl. She said, "It gives you gifts. Now I want to see why." Tomel didn't know her name, but he knew one thing Grohl was hiding from her, and she was watching them both. Later that day, he saw her again. She stood in the village square, speaking with the chief. Her voice was smooth and clear. The villagers were nervous. No one liked having a Zarek in their village. The Zarek were powerful. They were not cruel, but they were distant, cold. They never smiled, and they never came without reason. Tomel stood in the crowd, listening. "My name is Vetra," she said. "I come with peace. I have lost something. I believe it is near this village." The chief frowned. "What did you lose?" Vetra looked at the forest. "A creation," she said. "One that should have stayed with me." Tomel felt his chest tighten. She was talking about Grohl. After the meeting, Tomel walked away quickly. He didn't want her to see him, but he was too late. She appeared near his cabin that night, as if she had been waiting in the shadows. "Tomel," she said softly. He turned, surprised. "How do you know my name?" "I watched," she said. "He comes to you." Tomel didn't answer. Vetra stepped closer. She didn't look angry. She looked curious, almost gentle. "Grohl was made by my people," she said. "A weapon, strong, loyal, dangerous." "He is not dangerous," Tomel said. Vetra smiled slightly. "Not to you. That is why I came." Tomel felt nervous, but he didn't back away. "Why did he leave you?" he asked. Vetra's smile faded. Her eyes looked down. For a moment, "He changed," she said. "He stopped listening to commands. He stopped fighting. I tried to understand. He looked at me one day, then turned and walked away." She looked into Tomel's eyes. "I followed him for months," she said. "He never attacked. He avoided hunters. But then I saw him with you. He brought you gifts. He protected you." Tomel stayed quiet. Vetra stepped closer. Her voice dropped low. "He chose you." Those words stayed in the air. Tomel didn't know what to say. "I don't want to take him by force." Vetra continued. "I want to understand. What did you do?" Tomel shook his head. "I didn't do anything. I was just kind." Vetra nodded slowly. "Then maybe kindness is the key." She turned to leave, then paused. "I will stay in the village for a while," she said. "I will not hurt him. But if he gives gifts, maybe he will give more." Tomel watched her walk into the dark. He didn't know if he could trust her, but he believed her words. She didn't want to kill Grohl. She wanted something else, something even more strange. She wanted to learn from him. The next morning, Tomel returned to the forest. He carried a small gift bread wrapped in a soft cloth. He walked to the old rock where he and Grohl had always traded. But this time, Grohl was already there. It stood quietly, waiting. When it saw Tomel, it lowered its head and stepped forward. It dropped something at Tomel's feet, a small wooden box. Tomel picked it up and opened it. Inside was a silver ring. The design was strange, a mix of human and Zarek symbols carved together. It was beautiful and smooth, like it had been made by two hands. Did you make this? Tomel asked softly. Grull tilted its head. It didn't answer, but it let out a soft breath, almost like a hum. Tomel looked into the four golden eyes. She's here, Vetra. She's watching. Grull didn't move. It stood tall and calm, like it had expected this moment. She says you chose me, Tomel said. Is that true? Grull stepped forward and touched Tomel's shoulder gently with one claw. It was the first time it had touched him with care. Tomel nodded. Then I'll protect you, I promise. Behind the trees, Vetra watched again. She saw the touch. She saw the trust. Her eyes filled with something she hadn't felt in years, jealousy. Not the kind that burns, the kind that stings the heart quietly, the kind that makes a person wonder what they lost. He gave you trust, she whispered. Now, I want that too. The air felt heavy in White Bend Village. People spoke in whispers. Some locked their doors early. Others kept tools close, just in case. The name Brunel had returned to the streets like an old ghost. Villagers had seen strange signs. Again, deep claw marks on trees, footprints near farms. A hunter's drone caught a shadow with glowing eyes moving through the woods. Even though no one had been hurt, fear was growing. Tomel knew the truth. Grull was still gentle, still careful, still hiding. But the village didn't see that. They only remembered the old stories. The village chief, a heavy man named Farron, stood in the town square and made an announcement. We will no longer wait. A new bounty has been placed. A skilled hunter is on the way. He will end this beast once and for all. Tomel's heart sank. That evening, he walked to the forest's edge and waited near the rock. He didn't bring a gift this time. He only brought fear. Grull came silently, as always. The large black shape appeared between the trees, glowing eyes calm but alert. Tomel stepped forward. They've sent a hunter, he said. They think you're dangerous again. Grull didn't move. Tomel's voice shook. You need to stay. Far away now. Don't come near the village. Don't leave gifts. Don't follow me. It's not safe. Grull tilted its head. Then, slowly, it placed something at Tomel's feet. A small, sharp stone, round in shape, smooth on one side, rough on the other. What is this? Tomel whispered. Grull took a step back, then disappeared into the trees. Tomel picked up the stone and turned it over in his hand. A Zarek mark was burned into the rough side. He didn't understand it, but something told him it was important. He returned home and sat near the fire. His thoughts were heavy. He kept turning the stone, wondering if it was a warning or a gift. Maybe both. The next morning, a ship landed near the village. It was dark red, with black stripes and no flag. A man stepped out. He was tall, with a sharp face and long arms. His eyes were narrow, and a scar ran across his jaw. His name was Sarn. People moved away when he walked by. He wore armor with many buttons and blinking lights. On his back was a large weapon. At his side, a net gun. On his shoulder, a flying drone with one glowing eye. He spoke little, but everyone knew what he had come to do. Tomel watched from a distance. Sarn's face showed no kindness, only cold skill. He had hunted many things before. Tomel rushed to Vetra's small room in the back of the village storehouse. She sat there, as calm as always, reading from a clear screen. He's here, Tomel said. The hunter. He's serious. Vetra looked up. Her voice was soft. I know. Stop. Him, Tomel begged. Call him off. Tell them Grull's not a threat. Vetra stood up and walked to a shelf. She picked up a small stone just like the one Grull gave to Tomel. She handed it to him. If the moment comes, break the stone. It will help you. But only once. Tomel stared at her. That's not enough. Vetra looked out the window. Grull doesn't belong to me anymore. He made his choice. This is your test now, not mine. Tomel left, angry and confused. That night, the forest lit up. Sarn had released his drones. Their lights flew between trees like silent stars. His boots crunched leaves as he moved quickly. Tomel ran deep into the woods. He carried the stone tightly. His legs still ached from the old storm, but he didn't stop. He reached the cave, the one Grull used to rest in. Grull, he called. Please, come out. It's not safe. The forest answered with silence. Then, a low sound came from the dark. Grull stepped out. Before Tomal could speak, a red light flashed across the trees. Sarn had found them. He stepped into view, net gun ready. The drone flew above. There you are, Sarn said. You've led me right to him? Tomal stood between the hunter and the beast. You don't understand. He's not your enemy. Sarn raised the weapon. Step aside. Grull let out a low growl, not in anger, but warning. Tomal shouted, No, you'll have to go through me. Sarn fired the net. Tomal raised the stone and slammed it on a rock. A bright flash burst out. The net gun failed. The drone crashed. Sarn stumbled back, blind and shocked. Grull charged. Not to kill, but to push him back. With a sweep of its strong body, it knocked Sarn into a tree. Sarn groaned and didn't get up. Tomal grabbed his arm and dragged him back toward the edge of the forest. Grull followed behind, silent and watchful. At the edge, Grull stopped. It didn't step into the village. It only watched. Tomal laid Sarn down gently. The hunter was breathing, but to hurt to fight, villagers came running. They saw Tomal, the hunter, and the beast in the trees. But Grull didn't attack. It simply turned and vanished into the woods. The people didn't speak. They only watched. Later, the chief asked, Why didn't they kill him? Tomal looked toward the forest, because it's not a monster. Vetra stood nearby, silent. She had seen it all. She looked at Tomal and said, You saved him, he saved you. Now we both see the truth. Tomal didn't answer. He just held the broken stone in his hand. Grull had trusted him, and he had trusted Grull. But this was not the end. Something had changed, and others were watching now. The village of White Bend was quiet after the fight. The hunter Sarn was alive but hurt. He didn't speak much. His drone was broken, his net gun damaged. Some villagers still feared the Brunel, but many were silent now. They had seen it with their own eyes. The beast had a chance to kill but didn't. It protected Tomal. It walked away without harm. Tomal stayed near his cabin. He didn't go to the market. He didn't visit the forest. His mind was full of questions. Who really was Grull? Why did it care for him? Why did it leave its old life? He needed answers. And there was only one person who could give them. Vetra. He went to her the next morning. She stood near the edge of the village, looking at the trees. You said he was made. Tomal said, Not born. I want to know the truth now. Vetra didn't turn. You're ready to hear it, yes? Tomal said. She walked slowly toward a bench and sat down. She touched the silver band on her arm. A small blue light glowed. A screen appeared in the air, showing a young Brunel in a large room, surrounded by Zarek scientists. This is where he came from, she said. A lab, far from here. We made him. The Zarek Council wanted a protector. A living machine with no fear, no weakness, no question. Tomal watched as the video showed Grull leaping, fighting, lifting metal weights, breaking walls. He was faster, stronger, smarter than anything the Zarek had created before. He was perfect, Vetra said. But something changed. What? Tomal asked. Vetra paused. He stopped listening. Tomal frowned. Stopped how? He began to think for himself, she said. At first, it was small. He paused before orders. He avoided hurting weak targets. Then one day, during a test, he was told to attack a creature in a cage. He looked at it, then looked at me, and he refused. She turned to Tomal, her voice softer now. He turned and walked out of the lab. Just like that. No one could stop him. He disappeared. Tomal was quiet. We sent hunters, she said. We tried to track him, but he avoided them all. I followed him alone. I wanted to see what changed. I wanted to understand. And then he found me, Tomal said. In the forest. Yes, she said. And he brought you gifts. He brought you healing herbs. He gave you tools. He saved your life. Tomal looked down. He's not just learning. He's feeling. Vetra nodded. He's growing. More than we ever thought possible. Tomal looked up. He's not yours anymore. I know, Vetra said. That's why I stayed. Not to take him, but to learn from him, and maybe to ask what? Tomel asked. Vetra's voice was quiet. If I follow him, like he followed you, can I learn to? Tomel didn't answer right away. He stared into the forest. Then he said, you have to earn it. That night, Tomel walked back to the old rock in the forest. He left a small fruit and a folded cloth with simple human letters carved on it. It said one word, friend, Grull. Appeared soon after. His four golden eyes looked down at the cloth. He picked it up gently with one claw. Tomel stepped forward. She knows the truth now, he said. She doesn't want to control you. She wants to understand. Grull didn't move for a moment. Then he placed something at Tomel's feet. Small crystal cube. When touched, it showed lights, stars, and strange paths. What is it? Tomel asked. Grull made a low sound, almost like a whisper. Tomel understood. A map? Grull blinked once, slowly. Tomel picked it up. The stars on the map looked like they marked something hidden. A location? A secret? Is this your home? Tomel asked. Grull didn't answer, but the silence felt like yes. Tomel looked toward the trees. Do you want to go back there? Grull looked at him, then stepped forward and gently pressed his head against Tomel's shoulder. Tomel felt warmth. Trust, like the bond was stronger now. He looked at the map again. Then we'll go, he said. Together, behind them, Vetra stepped out from the trees. She held nothing. No weapons, no tools. Just her open hands. I want to come to, she said. I want to walk beside him, not behind. Grull turned. His eyes watched her for a long time. Then he stepped aside. A sign of welcome. Vetra took a slow breath and nodded. That night, the forest was calm. Tomel sat by the fire near his cabin. Grull rested beside him, quiet and peaceful. Vetra sat on the other side, looking at the stars. None of them spoke much, but they didn't need words. In the silence, something stronger had formed, a team, a new beginning, and far above, in the dark sky, the stars on the map began to call them forward. The night was quiet, but something felt wrong. The wind did not move. The animals were hiding. Even the forest seemed to hold its breath. Tomel stood near the fire outside his cabin. Grull sat close, eyes half closed. Vetra looked up at the stars. The glowing map cube rested in her lap. Tomel spoke softly. Something is coming. Grull's ears twitched. His golden eyes opened wide. He stood and looked toward the sky. Vetra stood too. She held the cube tighter. They found us, she said. The council. A deep sound rolled across the sky. It was not thunder. It was a ship, a large one. Red lights flashed through the clouds. The ship came down behind the mountains. Its engine shook the ground. Tomel's heart beat fast. How many are on that ship? Vetra's face was hard. More than we can fight. They're not here to ask questions. They're here to erase what they don't understand. Tomel looked at Grull. The beast didn't growl. It stood strong and still. They want to destroy you, Tomel said. But we won't let them. Vetra opened a pouch and pulled out a round device. We must run. This forest is not safe anymore. Grull turned and walked into the trees. Tomel and Vetra followed. The path was dark, but Grull moved like he had walked it 100 times. His paws made no sound. His eyes glowed softly, leading the way. They reached the deep forest by midnight. Trees grew thick here. The stars above could barely be seen. Tomel stopped near a rock. Will they follow us here? Vetra nodded. Yes, but not fast. They will skin first. Then they will come on foot. Heavy armor. Heat guns. Tracking drones. Tomel looked at Grull. Can we stop them? Grull stepped forward and let out a low hum. A signal. In the shadows, more eyes opened. 3 smaller beasts came out. They looked like Grull, but thinner, younger. Their eyes were green, not gold. Tomel stepped back. Are they like him? Vetra smiled. They're his kind, hidden, waiting. Grull looked at the others. They nodded. The bomb was clear. Tomel asked, will they help us? Vetra answered, they already are. The next day, the ground shook again. Soldiers had entered the forest. They wore black armor. Their boots were loud. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. One soldier spoke through a loudspeaker. Return the Brunel. Step away. This is the last warning. Tomel, Grull, and Vetra hid near the old cave. The three younger beasts circled round the edge of the clearing. Waiting. They don't want peace, Tomel said. No, Vetra replied. They want silence. They fear change. Grull is proof that we made more than a weapon. They can't accept that. A drone flew over their heads. It buzzed like a bee. Grull jumped and pulled it down with one claw. The fight had begun. The soldiers moved in. Red lasers flashed between the trees. Grull charged. Not with rage, but with focus. He moved fast, knocking one soldier off his feet. The younger beasts joined him. They didn't kill. They pushed, blocked, confused. They fought with control. Tomel ran between trees, using fallen branches to block paths. He grabbed one soldier's drop scanner and threw it into a stream. Vetra moved like a shadow, placing traps that disabled weapons. She didn't speak. Her hands worked fast. A shot hit her side. She cried out and fell behind a tree. Tomel ran to her. Vetra. She held her side. Blood stained her coat. I'm fine. Keep going. Grull saw her fall. He let out a sound no one had heard before. A deep cry, full of pain. He charged faster. His eyes glowed brighter one by one. The soldiers backed away. They had never seen a beast defend a Zarek. Grull stood in front of Vetra. He blocked the fire. He did not move. Tomel helped her up. Can you walk? Yes, she whispered. But slowly, Grull lowered himself. Vetra climbed onto his back. They moved toward the far hill. The cube map glowed again. A small light showed a hidden path. Tomel followed. The other beasts stayed behind, slowing the soldiers' dot as they reached the top of the hill. Tomel looked back. Smoke rose from the trees. Lights flashed. The sound of battle echoed. But the path forward was clear. They reached a high point. Below, a valley opened. In the center stood an old Zarek outpost, covered in vines and moss. Vetra looked at it. That was one of our first stations. Long forgotten. Grull walked to the center and stopped. Tomel looked around. Why did we come here? Grull placed a claw on the ground. A soft light came from the earth. A panel opened. Inside was a box. Simple, strong. Vetra opened it slowly. Inside were old memory stones, Zarek tech. Untouched for years. These are early records, she said, about Grull, about others like him. The council erased them from the main system, but they're still here. Tomel nodded. Then we have proof. He's not just a weapon. He's more. He made a choice. Vetra looked at him, and so did you? Grull walked to the edge of the hill and stared down at the burning trees. He didn't roar. He didn't move, but in his eyes, there was no fear. Only truth, only peace. The old Zarek outpost was quiet. The vines covering the stone walls moved gently in the wind. The morning sun touched the top of the hills, casting a warm light over the green valley. Tomel sat on a rock beside the hidden panel. He looked at the memory stones in Vetra's hands. Each one glowed softly, like fireflies resting in the dark. Vetra placed the stones on the panel surface. A screen rose from the ground. It showed moving lights and symbols from the old Zarek language. These are original files. She said, before the council made changes, before the truth was hidden. Grull stood at the edge of the platform. His golden eyes watched the horizon. The sounds of battle were gone. The soldiers had fallen back. They had not expected this resistance. Tomel asked, will they come again? Yes, Vetra replied. But they'll send someone else this time. Not fighters. Not hunters. They'll send the speaker. Tomel had heard of the speaker, a calm voice from the council, a person trained not to show anger or fear. What will the speaker want? Tomel asked. Vetra placed her hand on the screen. Control or silence. Grull looked back at her and gave a soft growl. No, she said, shaking her head. We won't let that happen. That night, a small ship landed near the hill. It was silver and silent. From it, only one person stepped out. The speaker was tall, dressed in white robes. Her face was smooth and quiet. Her eyes, however, were sharp. She walked toward the outpost with slow, steady steps. Two small drones floated behind her. Grull moved in front of Vetra and Tomel. He didn't growl. He just stood strong, The speaker stopped 5 steps away. I am not here to fight, she said. I'm here to talk. Tomel stood beside Grull. Then talk. But we won't give him to you. The speaker looked at Grull. That creature is property of the Zarak Council. He is not a creature, Vetra said. He is Grull. He saved me. He saved Tomel. He fought to protect, not destroy. The speaker's voice stayed calm. You believe what you want to believe. But he was built by our hands. He carries weapons. In his bones, his kind was made to fight wars, not to build friendships. Tomel pointed to the screen behind them. These stones say something else. You erased history, but it still lives. The speaker raised one hand. The drones moved forward. Grull stepped in front of them. The drones stopped. Listen to me, the speaker said. The council is not afraid of one beast, but of others. Begin to think as you do. There will be unrest. The balance will break. Vetra replied. Then maybe the balance should break. You fear truth because it's stronger than lies. The speaker lowered her hand. The drones returned to her side. I can offer you something, she said. Safety, for both of you, a quiet life, far away. But Grull must return with me. Tomel took a step forward. And if we say no? The speaker's eyes narrowed. Then the council will send more ships, more fire. Until the forest turns to dust. Grull walked forward slowly. He stopped in front of the speaker. He looked into her eyes. Then he turned his head. He looked at Vetra, at Tomel. And he sat down. The speaker looked confused. What is he doing? She asked. Vetra smiled. He's making his own choice. Grull tapped his paw on the ground. A small stone rolled from under his claw. It was not one from the old outpost. It was newer. The speaker picked it up. She touched the surface. A voice came from it. A voice of another Zarak, long gone. This program was designed to grow, not just in power, but in spirit. If you are hearing this, then the Brunel has learned beyond our hopes. The speaker stood still. She said nothing. Grull stood again. He walked back to Tomel and Vetra. Tomel whispered, he understands everything. The speaker looked down at the stone. You have made a difficult path for yourself, she said. The council will not be pleased. Vetra replied, the council can learn or be left behind. The speaker turned to leave. I will not stop you today, she said, but others will come. The truth is heavy, and not all are ready to carry it. She returned to her ship and left without another word. The valley fell silent again. Tomel turned to Vetra. What now? Vetra looked at Grull. Now we show the truth to others. They began their work. The stones were copied and shared. Messages were sent across the small human stations. Some laughed, some ignored. But a few listened. Months passed. One day, another Brunel arrived. It was older, wounded. But its eyes were clear. It walked up to Grull, and Tomel watched with wonder. How many are out there? He asked. Vetra smiled. Enough to change the galaxy. Grull stood tall beside them. Not as a weapon, not as a beast, but as a friend. And his kind was no longer alone.